Now, if you're regular to this show, you know we covered in Nevada the caucus, the Democratic caucus. They were screwing over the Bernie Sanders supporters. It was on video how they were kind of using extra parliamentary procedures to ram rules changes down the convention's throats. And they were obviously vocal in protesting it. And then there started to be a false meme that went around, and it started with this guy, John Ralston. Who is John Ralston? John Ralston is considered the dean of political reporting in Las Vegas. And why is that? Because I don't think there's another political reporter in Las Vegas. I don't think John Ralston's not that great of a reporter. He just happens to be there. He just happens to be there. So here, he tweeted this out after, so we've debunked that story. You know that story's been debunked, right? So here's John Ralston. Here's what he tweeted out the night of the convention. He said, convention ended with security shutting it down. Bernie folks rushed the stage, yelling obscenities, throwing chairs, unity now onto Philly. So that didn't happen. He also tweeted this out, if I remember my history, throwing chairs, yelling obscenities, and posting cell addresses of party leaders are how most revolutions begin. So he's just smearing the Bernie Sanders supporters because he wasn't even there. Oh. He wasn't even there. The guy, the only political event happening probably in the whole month at his goddamn city, right? He couldn't even stick it out. He left. He left the caucus. And then he started reporting stuff secondhand. Here's what, so that was on May 15th. This is a couple days later. He tweeted this out, May 17th, because people started to push back against that BS story. There weren't any chairs thrown. What are you talking about? People were upset that they were getting screwed over, and they were vocal about it. That's what you're supposed to do at a caucus. So he tweeted out, "Hey, Bernie bot chair throwing truthers. It happened. People saw it. Inc. One journo who was there and reported it." So he's linking to some journalist who said he saw it and he had pictures of it. Didn't. He didn't have any pictures of it. There weren't, none have never shown, none. So to the point that Snopes decided to take this on. The chair thrown around the world, a Las Vegas reporter's secondhand claim that Bernie, by the way, what a horrible way to report stuff. To go on and, right, first of all, he's supposed to be a straight reporter. He's not like me, right? I'm a comedian with a bias, and you know what it is. I'm a progressive, I'm a liberal. I don't hide it, what I feel, but my facts are right. And if they're not, I'll correct them. Right? When I'm pointed out that if I have a fact wrong, I'll correct it. And the fact that he would do that, that's a guy who wants to be considered the dean of political reporting, being condescending to half the Democratic Party, taking aside and then smearing them, and then lying. And then when it gets pointed out that his facts are wrong, instead of saying, hey, we're still trying to confirm this, he doesn't. He uses, again, another secondhand report. This guy, who, by the way, didn't link to any pictures of it. So Snopes decided to get in on it. And they said, while Ralston's insistence of Sanders supporters throwing chairs was secondhand, as he left the convention early, the claim was still taken as face value due to his status as a respected journalist in Nevada. Again, not hard to become, it's like being the skinniest guy at fat camp. It's not a big accomplishment. You're the best political reporter. And so they went on to say, despite the lack of verifiable evidence, this is Snopes, despite the lack of verifiable evidence, national news media ran with Ralston's claims and printed numerous stories falsely claiming that Sanders supporters threw chairs, including trusted outlets like the Associated Press, the New York Times, and CBS. So the whole mainstream news ran with this because this guy, John Ralston, who they all said was supposed to be a good reporter, that just goes to show you how bad reporters are. Even reporters don't know how bad another reporter is. John Ralston, not a good reporter. So here's what else they said. The chair throwing story was reported as fact, not just by MSNBC, but by news outlets such as New York Times, the Associated Press, CBS. So MSNBC reported it as, no, this is not the work of Donald Trump supporters, some of whom have harassed critics of the presumptive Republican presidential nominee. They went on to say it was angry supporters of Senator Bernie Sanders. This is MSNBC reporting this. Secondhand from John Ralston. It was angry supporters of Senator Bernie Sanders who were directing their ire at the Nevada Democratic Party and its chairwoman, Roberta Lang, over a state convention that they think was emblematic of a rigged political system. John Ralston tweeted about the purported chair-throwing activity despite having left the convention early, but he didn't initially clarify that he was not an eyewitness to the alleged incident. Another horrible reporting faux pas. Doesn't originally say, hey, I wasn't there. This is unconfirmed. That's one way to report it. That's not how I reported it. This is Snopes goes on. Snopes goes on to say at least one outlet held their own reporting to account when Ralston's came under question. NPR ran with Ralston's secondhand assertion about thrown chairs, but their ombudsman later pegged Ralston, who did not witness the chair throwing, as the sole source behind the widely repeated claim and admitted that no evidence had been produced that anyone had thrown chairs. So thoroughly debunked. Did John Ralston come out and apologize to everybody? Did he do a mea culpa? Did he say, hey, we got that one wrong? No. He kept tweeting condescending stuff, never admitting it. And so guess what happened? Oh, turns out his political show was dumped from Las Vegas Reno PBS station after the NPR ombudsman figured out that he was the source of this completely fabricated story that slandered not one person, not two person, not three, but half the Democratic Party was slandered. The guy who got 46% of the pledged delegates slandered. And so I bet he's going to do a mea culpa, right? I mean, he got Snopes outed him. The NPR's ombudsman outed him. PBS just canceled his show.
I certainly know he's thrown a chair or two since getting this news.
So let's see how he's going to do his mea culpa. You ready for this, Jim?
I hope he kicks a chair out from underneath himself.
He says, some personal news. I'm parting ways with PBS. It's clear that I ruffled feathers, and I understand PBS's need to protect its donor base. He ruffled feathers. I guess that's what a horrible journalist says when he gets caught filing false stories repeatedly. Ruffled feathers, and I have to protect their donor base. So what he's saying is, hey, man, I was keeping it too real for the PBS's donor base. They didn't like me. Really? PBS? No, you weren't keeping it real, John. You got caught lying repeatedly and smugly.
And he's lying again.
And you're lying again.
No feathers were ruffled.
Who knows? I understand. That's not why. They fired you because you lied. That you did horrible reporting.
You know, I have a John Ralston tote bag where you can put all your lies into.
You put all your lies right in that tote bag?
That's nice.
And you know what? He is a great... you could tell... You know what? Journalists are supposed to be called muckrakers. If you want to be a journalist, there's a quote, I forget by who, I'll find it. And I'll paraphrase it too, but it said if you don't have an affinity for much money and you don't really care about being popular, news reporting is the job for you. Well, that's not what's happening today. First of all, John Ralston, I don't know if you know, on his Twitter account, the picture he uses of himself is him in a frickin' tuxedo. Because you know that's the real muckrakey guys. They like to be, that's the image they want to project. Them at some kind of cocktail party, people have cocktails in their hand, and he's in a goddamn tuxedo. That's his fucking Twitter picture, profile pic. That's your journalist in a tuxedo at a cocktail party. That's your journalist. That's weird. That's weird. And then he wouldn't think that was weird that he would do that and still consider, because that's what's wrong with journalism. And by the way, this isn't going to hurt him. So he did lose his show at PBS. I already saw mainstream news journalists already tweeting him and saying, hey, I saw someone say, hey, a mainstream news journalist said, hey, everybody follow John Ralston and show his bosses were wrong. They weren't wrong. So because all the rest of the mainstream media repeated that lie too. So they're all embarrassed, so they won't all admit it. So he'll be fine. I bet he'll get a job at MSNBC. They just hired Corey Lewandowski, who physically assaults reporters. He'll get a job. CNN and MSNBC and Fox News will hire any horrible person. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're a race baiter or a racist. It doesn't matter if you physically assault women. It doesn't matter. Nothing. They'll hire you because you might get a rating. So John Ralston will have a home. And by the way, Rachel Maddow and all those people who let him come on their show and spew falsehoods, I've yet to hear an apology. I've yet to hear a retraction. I've yet to hear a correction. What about debunction junction? Where's that? I haven't seen it. If it's happened, I haven't seen it. Someone tweet me a link.
You know what happens on debunction junction?
What?
Doesn't stay, and I don't even know what that is.
I don't know. So there you go, John Ralston, Mr. Tuxedo, dean of shitty reporting in Las Vegas, lost his job because he got caught by Snopes and NPR being a horrible, shitty journalist who repeatedly lies about half the Democratic Party and does it smugly. And then when he's caught, that's the kind of mea culpa he does. So, Mr. Character Integrity, Mr. Dean, it's just another horrible example of horrible establishment journalism. That guy passes for a journalist.